Hello, welcome to my channel CAD and Engineering by JS. Today we're going to learn about the object snaps and object snaps tracking. Object snaps allowed us to add objects to the drawing at precise locations in relation to other objects already in the drawing. For example, you can add a new object, a line or a circle that will be connected to an endpoint or a midpoint of a line or an intersection of two objects, or to the center of a circle or a quadrant of an arc, and so on. In the slide, I have presented some of the commonly used OSNAPs with lines. For example, the endpoint of a line catches the endpoint of that line, the midpoint itself explanatory, the intersection between two lines in this case, perpendicular, you can draw a line that is perpendicular to another line and any location along that line. Nearest, it's very similar, you can catch a point that is nearest to the location where you're going to click of that object. In reference to circles and arcs, you can draw objects and snap into the center of the circle or a quadrant of a circle, 0, 90, 180, 270, or tangent to that circle or arc at any place. The use of the object snaps allows us to draw with high precision in AutoCAD and allows us to replicate the actual objects. Now, because there are so many of these object snaps, as you can see on the screen, you normally select some of them to be active or so-called running OSNAP, and the rest of them, they won't be active. So when you need to use the one that are not active, or when you want to just use one specific, you can override all of them in two ways. One of them is by typing the first letter of that OSNAP. The other one is by holding down the Shift or Control key and then right click and select the specific one that you want to use. Now let's open AutoCAD and review in more details these options. We're also going to review the object snap tracking, which helps us to track endpoints, midpoints, and establish relationship between the objects that we are drawing. You will see that when you track objects, they will display dotted lines, which are tracking vectors that will help us align one object in reference to the other one. I prepared this drawing to review the object snap modes in AutoCAD. The object snap icon is located in the status bar. You can turn it on and off by pressing F3. You can also access the object snap settings by clicking on the little triangle next to it. This is in the drafting settings dialog box. You can access the object snap, this tab right here, and select which one you want to have active. In this case, I have the endpoint, midpoint, center, node, and intersection. So these are my running OSNAP. If you need to activate a different one, you can do it directly here by clicking next to the name and a check mark will appear. When you don't need it anymore, you can remove it. So let's practice using OSNAPs here with this combination of objects that I have on the screen. So we're going to activate the line command, and first we're going to use the running OSNAP that I have in my selection. So for example, the line command is asking to specify the first point. If I hover over the end point of this line, a marker will appear showing endpoint. If you click, then you're going to have a new line that starts there at that endpoint. Let's start the line command again, and in this case we're going to use the intersection. If I hover over the intersection of these two lines, you get the marker again showing intersection. You click and then your line will start at that intersection, and it can go, for example, to this endpoint of this arc. Let's erase it and practice with a different one. For example, you may want to draw a line started at the midpoint of this line. So you hover over close to the midpoint, and when you see the marker showing midpoint, you click and you have a line that goes from that midpoint to the next one. In this case, I'm going to use node, which is this one is used to select point. And now I have this line that goes from the midpoint of this line to this node. By the way, let me explain that points are created using this command. I'm going to expand the draw panel, and this is the command multiple points, and just by activating it and clicking where you want the point to be, you can have different points. Also, I want to show you that the format in which these points are displayed can be changed using the utility panel. If you expand, there is an option here for point style. You click and you can change the style, and then that will update, and also the size, the way they will display. I'm going to accept that, and you're going to see the change. Now let's use a line command to draw a line from the center of this circle, let's say, to the intersection of these two lines. Line, you hover over, activate the line command. Program is waiting for the first point. Hover over the circle and you will see the snap marker right there showing center. You click and then you can hover over here until it shows intersection. You click again and you have your line drawn from the center of the circle to the intersection of these two lines. When you are drawing lines or any other objects, and there are several options, so you can use the tab key to cycle through the available OSNAP for that entity. For example, I press the tab key and now it is showing the endpoint. Tab key again and it's showing the other endpoint. I'm going to press one more time and it's showing the midpoint. Now we've covered all the running OSNAP that I had here: endpoint, midpoint, center, node, and intersection. For the rest of them, we can either put a check mark there or we can use the OSNAP override, which is activated by pressing the shift or control key, pressing it down, and then right click to select the one that you want to use. For example, let's draw a line from the quadrant of this circle to the endpoint of this line. Let's use 270. So I'm going to press the shift key, right click, and select quadrant. Temporarily, all the other OSNAP are off, and the only one you can see that it doesn't recognize anything else, the program, just the quadrant. So I'm going to hover over 270-degree quadrant and the marker shows up. I click and now all of them are active again, as you can see, and I'm able to draw my line. Let's use now this OSNAP called geometric center, which finds the center of a closed polyline. In this case, we have a polygon here, and we're going to draw a line from the center of this polygon tangent to this circle. So let's target line command, and now we're going to use the OSNAP override. Press the shift key, right mouse click, and select geometric center. Hover over the hexagon and you're going to see the marker. Click, and then again, since we don't have the tangent as one of the running OSNAP, we have to use the override. You can do that also once you have selected the first one and you have the first point. You can right click and select OSNAP overrides and use tangent. Hover over the circle and select where you want it to be the tangent. In this case, I'm going to use the upper one. Click, and we have the line from the geometric center of this hexagon to the tangent of this circle. Another OSNAP, it's perpendicular. Let's draw a line that is perpendicular to this line. If we use snap override, press the shift key, right mouse click, and select perpendicular, then you can draw a line anywhere along this object, in this case the line, and it's going to be perpendicular to it. You can see that I can move up and down and along that line, and I have a perpendicular line that's going to end up, let's say, in this end point of the circle, of the arc, or the midpoint of the arc. And another option is to use nearest when you don't have a very specific location. Let's draw a line command and select, right click, nearest, and then you can just place a line anywhere over the object that you want this line to be related to. And then this line could be go to this intersection, or to the center of this line, or to this endpoint. Now let's talk about acquisition object snap modes. To use this tool, OSNAP, you will need to acquire either an endpoint or an object, and when you do so, the program will display a dotted line, which is an alignment vector. Let's explain this better through this example. For example, I want to draw a line that is parallel to the one that I'm showing on the screen. So we're going to start the line command, and then we're going to specify the first point. Let's say I'm going to click here. Next, we're going to use the OSNAP override, press the shift key, right mouse click, and select parallel. Then we need to acquire the object that we're going to use. In this case, this line, so I'm going to hover over, and you can see that it's showing the marker for parallel. That means the object is being acquired, and now we can move away, and you see the dotted line that I was talking about, and now you can draw your line parallel to the one that you wanted it to be. Now let's do an example using the extension OSNAP. In this case, for example, I would like to draw a line that intersects with the extension of the other line. Let's start the line command. Click the endpoint for my first point, and then let's use OSNAP override, press the shift key, right click, and select extension. Now we need to acquire the endpoint of the line in question, let's say this one. And now, as you can see, when I move away, it displays the dotted line. There will be an extension of that line, and the new line that I'm created, the endpoint is going to intersect with that dotted line. I click, and that's the result. Another example of using extension OSNAP is this one. If we want to draw a line from the endpoint of this line that I'm pointing to the extension of this arc, let's start the line command. The first point is going to be the endpoint of the arc, and then we're going to hover over the end of the arc to acquire that point. Forgot to activate extension. Hover over the endpoint of the arc, move away, and see how we're tracking the extension of the arc. And then when you have the position that you're looking for, you click and you have your line. We're going to stop here today. This is the first part of this video. And the second part, we're going to review the object snap modifiers and object snap tracking. In the second part of this video, we're also going to solve this example, and you're going to have your own example to practice, which is this one shown on the screen. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and provide comments and suggestions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the second part of this video.